That's it. Go comatose for me, baby.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Hold it. This is getting confusing. You didn't always hate each other. There had to be some nice moments during the courtship, maybe.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. There's been some bad weather here lately, but things finally cleared up so I can at least do a little bit of work tonight before I go to bed. And I saw this article, and Rich Johnston he can never let anything go, and he can never actually address the criticism that he's trying to respond to. If you remember, Doug Ernst came on the channel. We talked about United States Captain America, and in our conversation, we freely admitted there's a lot of times political motivations or politics within Captain America. It certainly has been for long times. There have been times when Captain America has lost faith in the government, even though he sometimes is an agent of the government. What Captain America really is, he's a representation of the ideals that America represents. You know, what could America be on its best day, right? That's what Captain America represents. And sometimes he's turned against the government. He lost faith in the government, but never in America. And that's basically what we explained in the video. When we talked about Christopher Cantwell as the United States Captain America, this conversation doesn't seem to want to go away because people like Rich Johnston just cannot admit that they might not be right, or they won't even acknowledge what the actual criticism is. And Doug Ernst, who's a journalist with the Washington Times, he wrote an article basically talking about what happened in the United States Captain America. Not one time in that article does Doug ever say, it's crap that anyone would ever politicize Captain America, or that using political storylines in Captain America is bunk. That should never happen. He never even mentions that. He only says that Marvel Comics decided on the weekend or the week of July 4th for Captain America to lose faith in the American dream and put it to rest. And that's the basis of his article. And Rich Johnston went on and on and on, was arguing with him. And now other people have spoken out. Notably, we had, I think Dean Cain was on Fox News and was making some criticisms. And another person in the comic book, industry, he's a comic book shop owner, a big comic shop owner. Buddy Saunders came out, and I guess he's got is it a newsletter? I believe it's a newsletter for people that go to My Comic Shop. And he addressed it. And Rich he can't help himself. He has to make himself look foolish over and over. You can see the way he has to twist himself in knots and do mental gymnastics, because he will never actually address what Doug Ernst, myself, or Buddy Saunders are actually saying about the comic book. Because if he had to do that, he would have to admit that what we're saying is correct. Whether you agree with our criticism that this shouldn't happen, he won't even acknowledge that it did happen. That's the crazy part. So let's get into this newsletter from Buddy Saunders of My Comic Shop. And this is what he has to say. It's a little bit long, but we need to get through all of it so I can explain what happens here. Yes, Captain America went as woke as a bad bottle of Coke. Last week, I commented on Superman actor Dean Cain's take on the new Captain America comic, which I had not seen. Actor Dean Cain spoke out against the wokeism raging through America in an interview on Fox and Friends. That was in quotes. I believe that must have been what he had said in his previous article. The Superman actor responded to Marvel's recent decision to politicize Captain America, saying he's tired of anti-Americanism. Marvel is facing backlash for its latest comic, The United States of Captain America, which says the American dream isn't real. I had hoped Mr. Cain was wrong. He wasn't. So those are Buddy Saunders' comments on what Dean Cain had done. Dean Cain had come out and he'd said this and this and this. And then the last part he says, Marvel is facing backlash because it says the American dream isn't real. He'd hoped Mr. Cain was wrong about that, but he wasn't. And this is where Buddy Saunders actually says what he thinks about the comic book, which Rich Johnston, with his rebuttal, never actually addresses. We'll get to that part. This is what Buddy says. I've read the comic. I guess given enough time, anything can happen in a comic book. After all, characters die with regularity, only to be resurrected. But gee, I never imagined I'd see the day Cap would whine and disparage his own nation, one that heretofore he had proudly defended against Nazis and commies, real and imagined. No, this is not Captain America. It has to be an impersonator. Maybe the Red Skull, a Skrull, or a Hydra agent disguised as Cap. It has happened before. No, the Cap I know is proud of his country, and so am I. Those are his comments about the United States Captain America. The first half are his comments about Dean Cain controversy going on Fox News. And then that was what he had to say about the comic book. And this is what Rich Johnston had to say, of course, in Bleeding Cool. Again, this is absolutely what Captain America has done ever since he opposed his country's isolationist policy in Captain America Comics #1. That's a bit far. I think Rich might be bending history at this point. When you think of an isolationist country, they just stay to themselves and stay out of everything. America was neutral at that point when Captain America #1 was released in March 1941. But by the end of 1940, the U.S. had already basically given the British like 50 warships for some leases, so they could use some bases around the world. And they were also sending them supplies, lots of supplies, on a lend-lease program, which means we'll send you all these supplies, and then you can actually pay us when you have money. So not exactly isolationist. We were sending material support. We'd given them a bunch of ships, maybe not the most prime time state-of-the-art ships, but we gave them a bunch of ships for their Navy. Not exactly isolationist. America had just come out of World War I, just like the rest of the European continent. And American citizens were not ready to commit to another war on foreign soil at that point. So FDR was doing what he could in providing support. Wasn't exactly isolationist. Let's just say that. We were being neutral, but we were certainly providing support in supporting one side. So those are my thoughts on him saying that, on his thoughts of being isolationist. I don't think that is exactly a fair interpretation of what was going on. But then he gets into his rebuttal of Buddy Saunders' comments. There are all sorts of arguments you could make about the appropriateness of politics in superhero comics, especially in the genre that focuses on how people use powers granted to them to right wrongs and make the world a better place. But complaining about the use of politics in a comic called Captain America is like complaining about the mention of politics in Das Kapital. That's Rich Johnston. No one's complained about politics being in Captain America other than Dean Cain that I know of. That's not what I've said. That's not what Doug Ernst said. And that's certainly not what Buddy Saunders says. This is what he said. I never imagined I'd see the day Cap would whine and disparage his own nation, one that heretofore he had proudly defended against Nazis and commies, real and imagined. The Cap I know is proud of his country, and so am I. His criticism was not about politics being in Captain America. His criticism was Captain America burying the American dream. Essentially what Captain America represents. Captain America represents what America could be on its finest day, on its finest hour. That is what Captain America represents. And he's essentially Marvel, not Captain, Captain America is just a mouthpiece for Chris Cantwell and Alana Smith and C.B. Cebulski. They dug a nice grave for America, the American dream, put that white picket fence in there and buried it, right before 4th of July. But nobody's talking about that part of the criticism. They're just saying, oh, you're just whining about politics. Nobody's whining about politics in this case. Certainly, there are many times that we will complain about politics when they're forced in or ham-fisted, or it's not even politics, it's propaganda where you're basically being hit over the head with the sledgehammer. Message, you might as well have that little caption at the bottom. But that's not what the criticism of this particular comic book is. But Rich Johnston and the other people defending or saying that or trying to invalidate other people's criticism, they will never acknowledge that part because they're doing the mental gymnastics. They're tidying themselves in knots because you can't acknowledge what the actual point of the criticism is. You have to do an ad hominem argument and get people defending something they were never defending in the first place. No one said there shouldn't be politics in Captain America. No one has said there's never been politics in Captain America. Certainly not in this case. And these are the types of things you'll see over and over and over again. When you make a point about something, obviously Doug and I had just done a video maybe of 4 days prior to that, a nice hour-long discussion about the way people try to shut you down, isolate you, humiliate you, and get you to be silent. They will never address the actual points of your criticism. They will try and generalize it to where it's a stupid point and then make you try and defend some stupid point. No one's saying there's no politics in Captain America. They're saying Captain America buried the American dream. He put it 10 feet deep, with the white picket fence, and said it's dead, it's over, and I no longer believe in it. I no longer believe in what the character that was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby represents anymore. And that's the criticism. And you'll see it all the time. You'll see it from Rich Johnston. You'll see it from Heidi McDonald. You'll see it from a lot of these, kind of on the fringe comic book journalists, right? Even Rich will admit that he's not a journalist. He's just a clickbaiter. But these are the mental gymnastics that they'll always do. And you'll see a bunch of people normally with like 3 followers and have had their Twitter account for 2 weeks. We'll jump on board there. Listen, hold your ground. You're making your point. Do not let people get off topic, because that's what they're trying to do. They never want to actually address criticism. They would rather tie themselves in knots and do mental gymnastics than actually acknowledge what people are actually saying about Captain America in this comic book and a lot of the other criticisms that people have that are very valid about comic books, entertainment, or really anything in life today. It's all about isolating you, making you try to feel stupid, making you defend something you never even said. Case in point, Rich Johnston in his rebuttal to Buddy Saunders' criticisms of the United States of Captain America never even mentioned, never even addressed what Buddy Saunders himself had actually said about the comic book. And that's what they do. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.